Hello guys and welcome to a new episode of Leubniz Lecture. Today we're going to talk about JavaScript, especially how to add event listeners to a variety of HTML elements and how they're working and what we can do with all of these different events. Before we're going to start, I want to mention that this video is part of my lecture at the Higher Technical School of Kaindorf in Austria. Okay, guys, so let's just move forward. This is what I prepared for this session. I have an HTML file. If you would like to copy this, just pause the video right now, copy it, and then we're ready to go. Maybe some things we should mention. So we have a headline here. We have a button with the ID first button. I can see that on the right hand side, so we can click that one. We have some link here, and then we have some text. And you do not have to create all the text by yourself. You can just use a shortcut. So just write lorem, and then the number of words you would like to be created, and press enter. And this creates you just some sample text with the number of words. Should work out in every Visual Studio Code installation. I think so. Okay, so for today, let's just head to our main.html file. And I think the most popular way or the most popular listener is the click listener. So if something happens, we would like to just click on something. And to do so, we first of all create a function that should be called whenever we click on that button, and we just call that function btn click here. So this is what we're going to start with. This is our function, and the function should just print clicked to the console. Okay, that's it. Nothing else should happen. Let's just make sure that we see the console on there, and let's see. I click it, nothing happens. Makes sense because we have to assign that function to our button. And there is the first possibility. We go back to our HTML file, and as an attribute for our button, we're going to use the onClick as an attribute. And onClick takes in the function that we just created. And now, if we click the please click me, we see that we get our clicked printed down there. Okay, so looks pretty good, looks perfect. There is one more thing that might be interesting because we can pass something to that function, and what we can pass is a so-called event, because something happens when you click there, and there is a lot more information than just now something was clicked. So let's see what information we have. If we pass something there, we also should pass it in here. And let's just print this E to the console. And let's see what this does. Okay, so we click the button, and what we now get is a lot different because we now get a pointer event. So we're printing the whole event. And then you can see there is a ton of different attributes in there. We see if the Alt key was pressed, if what the mouse was, if it's the primary key, the primary target or not, what pointer type we were using, and so on, what the type was, which for sure was click. And then we also see what our target was. So what we basically clicked on, this is our button. Okay, so we also see that kind of thing in there, and that's what we will need later today in this session. Okay, so this is why that event is pretty important. Basically, that's the first version of doing it, and yes, it might be okay to do it in that way. You do that a lot if you're using React, for example, but when we just do vanilla JavaScript, I don't really like that way of doing it because it kind of mixes up HTML and JavaScript, and I really don't want to do that. I'm also not mixing up HTML and CSS, so we try also not to mix these things up here. So I want to show you another possibility of doing it. So we just get rid of that here. now our button is not working anymore. And just before that button click here, let's give that a short headline. Sorry, a click. Oh, it should be click and not list. A click listener for our button. So we are grabbing the element. You should know that from other episodes. So we are grabbing the first button, and then we can call the add event listener here. Perfect. What is the event? So we want to do something if the click event is passed. And now we should pass the function. And in our case, that's btn click. And once again, don't forget to write down event. So we see there is a problem already. And the thing is that we cannot access btn click before it was initialized. So we should make sure that the function is created before we are accessing it. And now what's being returned is just undefined. And there are some reasons for this. So basically we cannot pass the button click in here, but because this expects us to have a arrow function there. And in here, we can say event, and then we can pass the event directly. And now we should, when clicking the button, get the same result as before. And as you might already think of, we can do this in a much easier way because we have an arrow function there. So why create another function? Just use it in here, okay? So just print the event in that way, get rid of the function up here. We don't need it anymore. Just do it in that way. And this is exactly what the output is. Okay. This also works out for a link, for example. So let's define a click listener for a link. So we once again go for our query selector. Let's take a look what the link has. So it's first link here. Let's grab that thing. Don't forget about the hash. Once again, add event listener. What type of listener? It's a click listener here. Comma, and then the arrow function that we're going to pass. So I'm just jumping to the next line here. Our arrow function. And now let's just say link clicked here. Okay. So although you may not, or you might not be using the event here, I would also recommend to pass it so that you know it's there, something is there. So if we click that, we get link clicked down there. Perfect. This also works out for other elements. For example, for a div. So let's do something pretty cool. We are accessing our div. So the ID is my text there. We are adding an event listener. We are adding a click listener. Once again, don't forget about the event. And what we do now is we just say div clicked. Clicked. Okay. So make sure the div is that whole div, so the whole red box. And whenever we click into that box, it doesn't matter where we click, we get the output down there. Now we could try to use the event maybe to find out something else, because we can just say e.x here, and this now should print us nothing. So nothing is shown. Good question. Maybe it's better to do a small x, a lowercase x here, and then we just get the x coordinates of where in that box I am clicking. So the further I move to the right, the higher the numbers are getting. And on the very left hand side, we should have 9. I don't know if I can reach 0. I don't think so. Okay, so we can get the x coordinates, we can get y coordinates, whatever. So it doesn't matter. And if you want to get an overview of what are the different events that you can use in here, just go to self HTML and you can just search for, let's say, event here. And then what you get is all the events that are available in JavaScript. And this list is massive. Okay, so that's a pretty long list with a lot of different events. And I would just recommend to try out. So if you're interested in some of them, just try them. Find out what they are doing, try to use them. I think there are a lot of them which might be very useful for you. And I also took some of them so that we can see what happens. One that sounded interesting for me was the mouse enter listener. So we go for our document once again, the query selector, and we are selecting our div with the some text again. We are adding an event listener, and now we're using the mouse enter. This means whenever we enter our div with the mouse, we just console log mouse entered. Okay, there it is. So I'm entering the red box, it says mouse entered. I'm entering it again, it says mouse entered. And now we can also do that if we're, or we can also find out what happens if we're leaving the element. So let's just use mouse leave here. And now we see is we're entering it, we're leaving it. We're entering it, we're leaving it. I just forgot to replace the text here. Mouse left, enter it, leave it, enter it, leave it. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So we can also do some kind of these things. Or what's also pretty interesting is what happens, we want to print whatever we typed on our keyboard. So it's a key down listener. And we're going to set that key down listener for our text area. So it's just the ID of area. And just by the way, it doesn't matter if you're using double or single quotes, just I prefer to stay consistent. So not to use double quotes now and single quotes everywhere else. So just stay with single quotes or double quotes. So this is key down. And once again, we have our event. And now we need our event because we would like to find out what the key was that was pressed. So I'm just clicking into my text area here. And when typing my name, it even finds out that I press shift. It finds out when I press blank. It finds out when I press enter, backspace, delete, escape, arrow up, arrow down, right, left, whatever. So this is pretty nice if you would like to create a game with arrow up, arrow down, and so on, because this can also because you can also set this on the whole body. This is also working out. Just use body here instead of area. Sorry, what did I just do? So body. And now wherever we are on our web page, whenever I'm pressing something, something happens. Okay, so we see that the mouse click is grabbed there. And if you have different listeners added to certain elements, all of them fire as soon as you do something, okay? And I want to show you one last thing that's pretty important. I can do something that's called event. So use the event that we passed, prevent default as a function. And why is this interesting? Because what's this doing? So I'm just typing my name here, and we see that in the console, we see all the clicks because this is what we're consoling or logging here, but nothing happens in our text area. And this is what prevents default does. So it just stops HTML from doing what the default use case is. And the use case for that is to print some values in here, but I do a prevent default. And this might be interesting when you're working with forms, for example, and you do not want to proceed with the action that you defined in the form, because the basic action for a form is to just refresh it or to redirect to some other web page, server, whatever. And if you want to prevent it from doing this, you can use prevent default. So please keep that in mind. So once again, yeah, add event listener is the method to go for. If you want to find out what different events there are in JavaScript, just take a look at self HTML, for example. The wiki, that's pretty interesting also for a lot of other, or for a lot of different information about web development at all. So pretty cool web page. And yes, just first thing is the event, and then we're passing the event that we just clicked to access the target, to access whatever we want to access, elements like the coordinates and so on. And yeah, that's basically it. And remember, we had two ways. We could, on the one hand side, do it with an attribute here in the HTML file, or we could do it with the JavaScript file, which I prefer when going with vanilla JavaScript. Okay, guys, so this is already the end of the video, and I hope you learned something and also enjoyed it today. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you have any questions, if you want to tell me something, leave a comment down there. And if you do not want to miss any upcoming episodes, I will be happy if you subscribe my channel. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you again next time. Bye!